Hey everyone, it's Jason. Today we are going to unbox Steampunk Rally Fusion and, in the same box, Steampunk Rally. So what this was I kickstarted the new version, the standalone expansion or sequel to the game, Steampunk Rally Fusion, which adds a lot more content than the base game. But I'd never bought the base game. If I've heard of it, I never acknowledged what it was. So what they sold was the Atomic box, which is like a half and half. It's the Atomic edition. So it's not, I don't know if this version will ever hit retail. Only it might just be the Fusion and then just the regular one. But what this does is it takes all the stuff from Fusion and then it took all of just like the different stuff from the original game, like all the different character cards, terrain tiles, tokens and stuff, and put them all in this box as well. So it's not like there's actually two full games in here, because I don't think it doubled up on the dice and like the gear components and things like that you wouldn't need more than one set to play with, because you wouldn't run out. But it combined all the relevant stuff into one box, which is really cool for me. Because when you get it, you get the giant Steampunk Rally Fusion Atomic Edition. It has its own special book. It explains what this story is. And it's kind of funny because it doesn't mention what the original story was, exactly what the purpose was. It just mentions what Fusion is. But the concept of the game is it's a race. You have various inventors throughout history are racing to see who can become the winner in this rally. It has to do with Martians invading. And I think I'm not 100% sure what the original story was in the first one, but I think it had to do with, like, they pulled them from history or something and had them race. And then this one's now they beat the Martians, but they're still racing to try and, like, figure out solutions to maybe prevent this from ever happening, is what it says in here. You can read that. But what you're going to do is you're going to set up a map tiles, you're going to select inventors, you're going to get various pieces of machinery, combine them together to try and build bigger machines. You're going to roll dice, which you use to power your machines, but then you have to do stuff to get the dice off the board so you can keep reusing them. It sounds very complicated, but I think like most games, once you get into it, it'll kind of go. The setup in this book is really great. Just how it explains everything, is really helpful, because it walks through doing step 1 through 10. At the end of each one, it says like a letter A, B, C, D, and then on the map, it's showing where A, B, C, D, and are. So, like, set up your tiles. Like, set B, set aside all your dice and gears. C, put all your piles out. D, flip a card over to start the discard pile. So it really walks you through everything. Even says your first game, here's a way to start. Don't play with, the giant 6 tiles. Play with 4 tiles. Use a special starter tile, which gives you a couple extra turns to get in. Play turns a little bit differently. So that's really cool. And then there's like optional setup on the side here. So if, like, now you played your starter game, you've played a full game, now you want to add some more stuff. You can add these event decks, you can add these special secret projects and challenge tiles, combining stuff from both games if you want to. So that's definitely cool. I love how it's set up, because it shows you, this is how the game should look, but you can do it this way, you can add this stuff, it's all on the same page. Walks you through on how to actually play the game. It's like a really good book. Like, here's your order of play, here's what each thing does. And again, it keeps with these letter things, like, here, flip these tiles, but if you're playing with the event decks, use these instead. During your draft phase, you're going to draft these specific cards. Here's what you can do in your turn. You can attach parts. You can sell parts for various dice or gears to do stuff. You can stash your boost cards so you can use them later. You're going to build your invention. You have to follow specific rules, which I'll kind of point out when we go through. Machine parts, they do different things. Like gold machine parts are used for motion. They're like your propulsion. They're trying to get you through the race quicker. Your silver ones are to generate, multiply, and convert your dice into various power. So they let you do other effects. And then like your copper ones, which are like the cheaper ones, are going to let you connect to more things. So they're like your base parts. And then boost cards let you do extra things. One other thing I do want to point out while we're on this page is this draft phase. So each player draws one of each type of card. A gold, a silver, a copper, and a boost card. And then you each pick one card. You set the rest down. And that's the card you're going to get. And then everyone at the same time does all the other stuff together. So like you're each going to pick a card. And then you're each going to get to play it. So if you want to, so you can attach it, you can sell it, or you can stash it. And you're going to do all your stuff at the same time. Then there's going to be 3 cards remaining. Then each player picks one of those 3. Then what you do is you pass those 3 cards to the next player. And then you get a pick from the 3 that they left over. And then you repeat that. So then you'll have 2 cards left. You pass those to the next player. Then you get a pick from the previous player's 2. And then finally you're going to get left on the 4th turn. You're going to get left whatever nobody else wanted. I've played drafting like in Magic the Gathering. I haven't played any other drafting games. But it's always a fun, interesting thing to do because it gives you options on what you want to do, but then you're going to get less and less options. You're going to get stuck with things that you might not want or might not work for you. But then you have the option like, oh, well, this doesn't work. I'll just sell it and gain some extra dice. Or if it's a boost card, you can just stash it for later. But it kind of it takes some of the control out of your hands because you're not sitting there staring at 4 cards, constantly. Oh, which one do I play? Do I discard this, that? I like drafting. It's a neat idea, and it works really well because it kind of also evens the playing field. Because then that way, you're not going to have one person always being like, well, he got all these cards because he kept drawing them off the top of the deck. Well, if you each draw 1 card from each pile, every turn, you're going to have the option on the first part of your turn to get one of those 4 parts. So if, you find out, okay, I need more bronze, take your bronze one first. But if you're like, oh, I can afford, I'd rather get this gold card, take the gold card. It's a neat idea. I liked it. We have the event phase. So what this does is throughout the game, you're going to play dice onto your various inventions. Your pieces, your steampunk car or ship or whatever you want to call it, to activate various effects. And then what you're going to want to do is, during the event phase, you're going to spend your special cogs, which are kind of like your money, to reduce the numbers by either 2 or 1 on each. And you want to try and empty them off of there. And the reason for this is because you can't activate the effect of that specific piece of equipment unless you're putting dice on there. So you're going to want to keep doing stuff during your turns to try and remove them dice as quickly as possible so you can keep playing more stuff. And it's a balance between what do you do because I'll get to why it matters what number dice they are. And then they have the fusion set actually has these brand new fusion dice, which are a lot more powerful. They're higher numbers. Instead of 1 through 6, they're actually 4 through 9, but they can't be removed. So they're really cool. They're really helpful for getting higher bonuses, but you can't get rid of them. So you really got to be careful on when you pick them. There's a bunch of other stuff you can do. You can activate boost cards. If you have if you have any dice in your angled, your diamond box, you can use them. So you can store dice at the end of your turn to keep it, so you can use them for your next turn. You can use your light bulb abilities on certain cards, activate machinery parts. And so activating machinery parts here, this is going to show the person rolled a blue die for 5, which matches the blue symbol, and a red, which matches red, so they have 6 points. And here's going to say for every 3 points they make, they gain 1 movement, so they get to move 1 space on the map. So they've generated 6 points, so they can move twice. So obviously, the higher the numbers you roll, the more you're going to get to do stuff. So if they would have put down 2 6s, they would have got to move 4 times, which is great. They get to move 4 spaces. But to get rid of 2 6-sided dice, at the point where you have to spend 1 cog to drop it down 2, it's going to take 2, 4, 6, 3 cogs to get rid of that dice. And if you have 2 of them on there, I move 4 times, but I'm going to have to spend a total of 6 cogs to get rid of all of them, to be able to use that ability again to move again. Whereas if like this is a 5 and a 1, next turn they could get rid of this 1 very easily, and then they still have the lightning spot open, so they have 2 options. So it's the ebb and flow kind of higher dice probably get you better abilities or activate more times. But you're also not going to get to keep doing that over and over and over. So someone rolls really well and, hey, he moved 4 spaces, they're taking the lead. It's going to take them a few turns, generally, depending on what other abilities and cards and other things you have, to use that effect again. So then that's going to give the other player a chance to catch up. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So it's different stuff like that. There's also exploding, so you have a damage phase. So if you have you have a gauge, like a little health gauge on you carry around. If it goes below 0, you have to start discarding stuff. So if your damage gauge displays a negative number, you must discard that number of machine parts from your invention, and then you reset it to 0. So if you're at -1, you have to remove 1. So if you're taking damage from hitting terrain, or an effect or something happens, or maybe a machine part might cause you damage for some reason, you have to start discarding your machines. It's kind of like it's part of the whole balance of this game, so you don't keep building these huge giant machinery that's like 40 pieces, because as you move through stuff, you're going to keep taking damage, so sometimes you just have to decide what's worth sacrificing, what's worth, keeping. It makes the game, very active. So you're not just building a bigger and bigger and bigger machine every turn. And like, this turn I can move 20 spaces. No, because you're probably going to hit stuff and have to lose things. And then, also what can happen, though, is you can explode. So anytime during the game, if you can't discard any more parts, your machine explodes, and you move to last place. So, like, again, what's cool is you're still in the race, you just have to start over. So you can still win, you just move 1 space behind whoever's in last place. So it's not even like you have to start back in the beginning and try and figure it out. I would assume cheating-wise, you could probably strategically, if you're way behind, purposely, if you can, maybe explode your things, I'd say you'd actually move up a space. That's what the thought would be, but it's like, nope, if you're in last place, you actually just move back 1 space. So it's not a good strategy. But I do like the fact, though, that it doesn't, you don't have to sit there and, struggle and throw, oh no, I lost this piece, I'm going to lose the game. It's just going to put you back in last place. And then you can keep going. And then there's an upkeep phase where you can store dice. And then the final thing is the finish line. So once you cross this finish line, there's still a little bit more of map left to go. So once one person crosses the finish line, they don't win immediately. You play 1 more full round, and then whoever is farthest down the track at that point wins. So even if player 1 hits the finish line, you're like, oh darn, I was 1 space behind him. You still get another full turn to try and nitro your way through, and you could maybe pick up 4 more spaces, and they can only do 1, and you could still win the game. So that's kind of actually makes the game really cool. Then there's these special new cards called Secret Projects, which you can spend dice towards instead of putting them on your machine. You can spend them towards these other other projects, which give you really big bonuses the more dice. Like here it's saying this Teleforce Tunneler. If you've added 4 dice to it, you get 1 of these movement points. If you've done 8, like this one, they're in the 8 to 12 column, you gain 2 movement and 1 energy die. If you somehow get to the 12, you get 3. So these are optional things you can play with, but it definitely just gives you something more to do. Race effects, some various things on there you might find on the board or on your machinery. If you're going to gain a die, discard a die, take damage, inflict damage to other players, reinforce your invention so you take less damage, gain cogs, you clear money. They have the 2 different motions. So one motion, the silver one, means go forward 1 space. But if there's this little terrain symbol on the board, you have to take damage. Or do whatever, do the terrain effect, which is later on. If you have smooth, you still only move 1 space, but you get to ignore the damage that would have been caused for that. So the gold ones are, a little bit better movements. There's overcharge to basically sacrifice one of your pieces of machinery to gain an effect. They have extra special gear spots where you can spend your gears to put them on to gain bonuses. Like this would say if you rolled 4, you gain 1 movement. If you put 3 gears on here, you instead would gain 2 movement for every time. And there's track effects, there's various terrains. Some of the different locations have specific terrain effects, like Machu Picchu or Mars have different things to go through. Then there's also stuff from your event cards. Solo game rules. And then there's challenges, and this is some of the stuff from the original game. It adds extra little spots in there you can spend points to gain extra abilities. And then your frequently asked questions, which is really good. Again, tutorial, like, what can I use this? What if I do it in this specific spot? This is a really good book. And then here's all the different inventors for the game. They're all famous people. They're famous if you know history. Some of them are going to be just immediately, like, people are going to know, like, a lot of people might know who Alan Turing is, or Amelia Earhart. Not as many people are maybe going to know who Igor Sikorsky is, or Marie Marient. But it's neat, and then they have all the different things, and then there's some from the original game, like Alexander Graham Bell, Albert Einstein, who, again, people like everyone knows, but, Wright brothers, Thomas Edison, but how many people, specifically know Sachi Toyota? Yeah, so it's really cool. A little history of them. Then the back is going to show your overview. What to do, race effects, and things. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to draft, select your parts, and you can all do it at the same time. Vent if you need to vent. Race phase, and you're going to do everyone's going to do the stuff at the same time. Just because it might, in fact, it might make a difference on what happens. So, like, you're doing your race effects, each person needs to activate, like, 1 piece on their vehicle. So you might not want to just, like, I do this, and then have your guy move. But you might want to be like, okay, everyone do 1 piece. Everyone do a second piece. Because if it's something that damages another character, or makes a difference where somebody else is located on what you get to do, you don't want to have player 1 go, then they get way ahead, and then now your ability is not good. So you kind of have to figure out how to do it that way. It's kind of an odd thing to do. So alright, that is all of that. Here's all the different component lists. This is a really good book. This is a long opening video, so I'm not going to go into this in part 1. It's just going to kind of look at the stuff, so you have all the tokens. I'm not going to start going through the cards. We'll do that in part 2 of the video. But here's the nice little box for holds everything. We have all our dice, all our different cards, all these different tiles. There's some more tiles down there. And then additionally, there is the promo pack that I got. So you can get this. I don't know if you can buy this I don't even buy a specific one because this is the 2020 promo pack, so it included everything. But you can get some of these from various other places. We're just going to add just some extra different inventors and their machines. So we'll look at that at the end like I always do Kickstarter stuff last. So we'll start going through this in part 2. See you guys there. Bye. So now I'm going to start going through some of the tokens and cards and stuff. This is a little ship that you can use for starter games to start off, and it just says attach 2 random tiles and 1 finish line plus end tile. So that way you just make a little map that looks like that. And the other side's the same thing, it's just if you want the other direction. What's also neat on here is to have terrain damage on here. So when you start, you get 1, 2, 3, 4 turns before you have to enter the actual map. So it kind of gives you a little buffer for some of that. But you also have to take 1 point of damage right away. So it's kind of an interesting trade-off. So now we're going to have all our little tokens here. So we have some gears. We have gears that are worth 10 points, 3 points. And then single gears. This is kind of like a currency that you use. They have special light bulb tokens for activating. Certain different invention pieces that you attach have a light bulb symbol on them. One of the phases you can actually activate your light bulb and you do all your light bulb effects once per turn. We have a turn marker, and this inventor pawn is for promotional characters. So they have this must be for some of the promo characters that didn't have specific pictures, but here's all your different characters. And some of these are the original game. Some of these, I think this board is all the stuff from the original game, and I think the other box I have is from the expansion. So here we have the other sides. You have dark light bulbs. This turn token, it shows which direction you do stuff in, because most of the time you're going to do things like at the same time. But the things like for drafting, we have to pass, or you have to do for things. One time you pass to the left, the next time you pass to the right, or some other effects that require like someone to do things in order. You have to follow these directions, and the reason why in drafting you go one direction and then one the other way is so that it's not always player one's like, I got this really good card, I'm going to hand this crap to player 2, because on the next turn they can do the same thing back to you. And then the very top up here, I'm going to start popping tokens out. We have some little extra buildings you can put on the map as an additional thing, so you can land on these and you can spend various things to gain things. You can spend like gears to gain dice, or you can spend dice to gain movement, or spend fire to avoid terrain. Different little extra bonuses. Here is the second set of characters. So this is all the fusion characters. They have a little bit different border on there, just to help separate them out. There's some crowd cards. You can put these in on the board to add extra challenges. And I think if you gain 5 gear for when you land on these, you bypass and you gain 5 gears for every minus every half of event on one of your vehicles are shown. So if all your inventions are complete, you'll gain 5 gear. But if you have too many things that aren't built correctly or things are sticking out, you're not going to gain them points. It's essentially the fans being like, your vehicle looks awesome, I'm going to give you extra points. And then being like, your vehicle is terrible, you don't get points. Here's our damage counters. Or it's our health counter, so it goes all the way, and it can actually go up the other way, up to 3, and then it gets back to 0 and blowing up. So I think this is, so if it goes below 7, you flip to this means you're completely knocked out. You can't do anything else, you're automatically knocked out. And if you go above 3, you start gaining gears anytime you gain extra like reinforcements. It's kind of a interesting thing, and there's quite a few of these. So there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So play up to 8 players in this game. That would get kind of crazy. Need a lot of room for that, I bet. We have some tiles. These tiles aren't super big, which is nice because I like we're playing with 6 of them. But there's start points for both of them. And they're all double-sided. So you're supposed to play with all the same ones. So this is your finish line. And you can see on here we have our terrain tiles. So when you're coming through these, you're going to take 2 points there, 2 points there. And then this has to attach to an end tile. We have this one here, which is going to have, and you see like the end tile goes there, and there's the finish line. So you cross the finish line, you get all these extra spaces. This one here, you're coming in, you're ending, and it's right there's your end tile. This also has to mention that it's a crowd spot built in. It has 2 damage for each spot. It has these jump icons, which means you have to play enough movement to get all the way across. So this is actually kind of like a more advanced board, because you take 2 damage here, and then you have to somehow move 4 spaces, and you're going to take a bunch more damage. But it definitely makes the game interesting. These are all from the original, I believe, so there's a different spiral there. And there's the other arena. This one also has like that built-in pay 1 gear to gain fire, little coal mine. Same as the little tokens, except they're not added in there. There's a little air vent. Yeah, something like 3 damage to go over those mountains. A lot of damage on these tiles. I didn't think it would be that relevant. Jump over that electrical gap. You kind of see where like this outdoor one's a little bit like safer, easier out. This one's kind of neat here where you can go around. So you can go all the way around taking a total of 3 damage, or you can take 5 to take the shortcut. So it kind of depends on what you can afford to get rid of. This one's sort of the same way. So either you can have to jump all of these, so you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots, or you can go this way and take a little bit more damage. Love the options. I'm glad to see that they had options on here. I was kind of worried that they might not do that. And there's that one, and this would be the last of those tiles. So then what you do is, if I wanted to set up one of these boards, is I would do my start spot. I just have to link up the different sides. So if I wanted to do all 6 tiles, so what I'd have to do there is, I believe what I'd have to do would be, this might not work right. Nope. Let's try, see if we can get this to, my end tile doesn't want to line up right, because it needs to be, need to do it like that. So then this would have to go this way. That one would have to go that way. There. So you'd start here, go up around this corner. You have the option of going all the way around, or you could try and cut through this field here. Same thing here, you could try and cut this way, or you could go all the way around, hit your finish line, And then you have all these extra tiles you can start going through to see how far you can get. And what tiles you put here might make it, might matter, because once you pass the finish line, though, you don't count these terrain or the damage tiles anymore. And if you somehow get off the board, you just start back at the beginning just to keep track. But yeah, someone could like easily cut out what 1, 2, 3. 3 spaces there. It's 1, 2, 3. It's still 3 spaces, but it's 1, 2, 3 versus 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's one less space, but it's a little bit quicker. Because it cuts you right through. And the same thing, you could cut around that way. Definitely interesting. And then I still have 2 more tiles that I can play around with. Now, I suppose if you really want to, you could mix and match all these tiles. That's always an option. They recommend just always using the same type. But yeah, if you're playing like a starter game where you're only using 4 tiles, you're going to have a lot of different options. And if you start advancing to the 6 tiles, you're still going to have a bunch of different options. You can play them in different orders. All that stuff. So now the fusion one is going to add some other different terrains. We have Mars here. And it's going to have some fusion reactors. So you spend 2 to gain a fusion dice. Or die. And the other side, we're going to have Machu Picchu. So we're going to have like some different elemental things, and these are some other different tiles that go special effects. So these are a little bit more advanced game. So here's like some canal spots you can go through, and these are all listed in the book. Like here, it's showing this canal here that you can take. So, what I understand is what you can do is it's going to cost you 3 to go here because of that takedown. If you can go there, go there. But now to jump over this canal, instead of being a jump spot like the other board that had like a hazard symbol, you just had to spend an extra die to go, or extra movement to get over it. This one means you can't use the bronze wheel. You have to use, I believe, the gold wheel to get all the way across. You have to basically be able to move 2 spots to get across, but otherwise you can't move. And the book explains it for sure. Here's some shortcuts. Actually, it has 3 different shortcuts. That's cool, because you go all the way around, which is really safe. Take this little bit shorter route, but take 3 damage there, or take the super short route and take 4 damage. That's definitely neat. Here's another, like, canal spots. Or you could take this way to less more treacherous, taking more damage, but you have an option. Your finish line. Oh, did I not flip over and look at this side of that one? I did not. And then the opposite of this one. As it goes that way. Oh, look at that one. That's 3 canals in a row, or you have to go all the way around. So if you have some really good movement, that could save you a lot of time and damage. That's really cool. So like this one here, I believe if you land on this, you have to. I'm not sure. I have to look at it, but I believe this means you have to spend a lightning die. Otherwise, you have to take 2 damage. It's just a basic tile, nothing special on that one. Same thing there. And I think these are kind of like some of your end tiles because it wraps around and it comes to a finish. And then your start tile. Alright, so that's those 2 different boards. I'm not going to build that one right now. But that's the different boards. So before we get into the cards, let's look at the rest of the other things. So here are actual gears. These are metal. These are also currency that you can use, and I think this is just might have been a Kickstarter alternative. I don't think these are. They're really good plastic. It kind of feels like they're metal, but they're really good plastic. But it's what you can use to spend for gears. So that's really cool. Really makes it more steampunky feel. We're gonna get some little clip here to hold our characters, and then some clips for our tiles, for our secret inventions, so you can keep track of your emotes. We're gonna have our different dice. So we have 3 different colors that represent your various steam. We have fire abilities, we have electricity, and we have steam powered, or like air. And it kind of just represents the different things that your machinery might use. Like some might use more fire, some might use more electricity, some might use more steam powered. And that's the different dice you can play. The others are all just D6s. And then we have, for the fusion set, we have the brand new fusion dice, which, like I said, have up to 9 pips on them, between 4 and 9. And they're purple and green. And they are bigger than the regular dice. So these are more like, I think, standard D6 size. These guys are a little bit smaller. But I think they also made them bigger because once these get played, you can't pick them back up. That's that, that's that. Then we just have all of our decks of cards. So we have our character cards. Looks like we have some event cards. Looks like they're all kind of mixed in. So I'm not for sure which ones are for which set, so we're just going to go through all of them. There is a way to tell on there. So like here we have our 2 different boost cards. The one with the little, if it wants to zoom right, the little fusion symbol here. This is for the fusion game, and then this one doesn't have one, so this is for the base game. Otherwise, the backs are the same, so you can mix and match them. Fusion. I'm just going to try and see if I could sort them out, and then maybe we could. I got 4 decks of each. So if that's sorted properly, if all the cards, the little fusion icon, are only fusion, that you can see how many more cards the second set added. Definitely a decent, a little bit more. Not a ton more, but... So we're going to go through the base set stuff first, which should all be these. Oh, sorry, I had to adjust a bit. Alright, so we have... So that's not even going to be correct, because on the back side of this, I have a fusion guy, but the front card's not fusion. So, whatever, I'm just going to start going through cards, and we'll figure them out. But just be aware, though, while you're watching this, not all, some of this stuff is for the base game, some is for fusion. So if you're only buying fusion, you might not get all these cards, and vice versa, if you already own Steampunk, you might recognize some of these. Or not vice versa, whatever. Alright, let's see what we got here. Alright, so I'm just going to break down this card quick. So this is I think a gold bordered one. That's what it looks like. No, this is a bronze card. Because there's 4 different valves. So this is a blast pipe. It's going to attach to one of your cards. It has a cell effect up here, so if you want, so during the cell effect, you can get rid of this for either 2 fire dice or 2 gears. And then here's going to have this idea mechanic. So during your turn, if you spend your light bulb, you can discard and remove one of these and take 1 point of damage. I'd have to double check to see if that's what that means. I'm just going to show these 4 different gears. So it means you can attach them to anyone. I want to see if I can find. I'm going to open up another package. I think these are all... Okay, there's some other different ones in here. Alright, so then here we have another one. This is for Ferdinand von Zeppelin. So this is his character-specific card. So every character starts off with their cockpit and 1 specific card. So I'm going to guess there's his cockpit. So you have Ferdinand von Zeppelin. So this is his card he starts off with. There's his character thing. He has 2 valves there. He has an idea on there, so you can spend an idea to gain 1 extra movement. And then you're going to start off right away with his extra card, which also has a little idea. So you can either gain 1 gear or take a point of damage and move 1 space. So now when you start off, you can connect it like this. Connect those 2 gears and have a big long one. Or you can do more logically what they're showing in the picture is start it up there and make it the actual Zeppelin. But anytime you connect 2 cards, they have to form a full gear. What also has to happen is when you're adding cards, during certain effects, it's going to check. You have to have all the gears or all the valves filled off of your main cockpit. If other ones stick out farther, that's fine. So like I could build this like this, and I wouldn't ever have to put anything down here. That's fine. But I always have to try and fill a card on my Zeppelin. It explains it more in the rules. But now, like, if I have my Zeppelin cockpit here, and I got this, I could attach this guy to there. And, right now, like, these pictures kind of line up. I don't know if that's always going to 100% happen, if they figured out a way to always make that work. And then, like, for some reason, if I had this later on, and yeah, so far they're all kind of lining up. I can make this big giant monstrosity of a thing, or I could have put this over here, you know, but now I can't put this over on this side because there's no valve over there. Yeah, that's kind of how that works. Alright, so let's keep, I've kind of shown what that is, let's go through. I'm not going to sit here and read off what every single effect is, just because otherwise we'll be here for 3 years letting me read all these. So we have a bunch of blast pipes. So I think some of these guys are going to be duplicates just because of the common ones. And we have a thermal coupling. So like this one lets you, it's just showing here like you need to put a fighter in here to use this. And then as long as you place any die, so it doesn't have a number in there. So if you play any number, you're going to gain 1 gear, 1 electricity. So that's a quick way to gain some extra cards there. Couple thermal couplings. Like I said, some of these basic ones are probably going to, we have a steam vent. Place any steam card, gain a steam. You can remove a steam die and gain a gear. So that helps you get rid of dice quick. We have a vacuum brakes. We have a heat sink. Use steam to get rid of fire cards. We have a flywheel. So this is kind of a neat one. So store unused dice here, reroll and use during the next race stage. So you're going to do stuff, play cards, you're going to do things, you're going to get various dice to use during your turn. To roll and then put on your machines. In these different spots here, like put them on there, wherever. At the end of the turn though, any dice you did not use, you don't have to use all your dice, you don't have to activate everything. Because sometimes it might not be beneficial. Or maybe you just can't. For whatever reason, you don't have enough dice, or you don't have enough high enough to spend on something. Like you need 6 to do an ability, and you can only produce 5. Don't spend that die on that spot, so you have to find out how to get rid of it. And it kind of wastes it. You can put them on here, and then during your next turn, it gives you 2 extra dice or 1 extra dice to use. So those are kind of cool cards to have. There's a bunch of them. Gyrostat, electricity, so as long as you place a die of at least 1, you gain 1 gear. And this should mean every time you hit 1, so if you play 5, you're going to gain 5 gears. So it's actually a pretty powerful card. Galvanic brakes, kind of just even neat, like showing it. So kind of grinding there. A resistor. We have a time machine. Who doesn't want a time machine on their flying ship? Polarized shielding. Poppet valve. Well, that gives you a bunch of gears. Anti-grav device. And you might think, oh, 3 gears, 5 gears, it's a lot. But, like, you're using the spend to remove your dice. So, and you want to try and play higher level dice. So it definitely makes a difference. You can also spend gear to change the numbers on your dice. 1 up or 1 down, I believe. I believe it's both directions. So that'll help too. So if you're like, oh, I need 1 more point, you can spend a gear to change your dice. So the more gear you have, the more currency, the more options you have of what to do on your turn. An anti-grav device. Hubberties. And then now we have some of the inventors. And these guys are all from the first game yet. So we have Margaret Knight. So she gets hers, and then she has a train. So she has a steam turbine. You play up to 4. Now you don't have to play all 4 to gain this ability. It's just giving you 4 different options. So you could play 1 here on 1 turn. Next turn you could play 2. And you could get this more and more. It gives her more options and more chances to eliminate the things. And then up here, it lets you just automatically, if you play your invention ability, it lets you remove one of those dice really easily. We have the Wright brothers. You gain speed or 2 fire. And they have their Flyer 4. Their biplane. Which lets you gain smooth movement. It's really cool. We have Marie Curie. Hers has store a guy. That's pretty fun. And then you actually get a fire die just for doing that. And then you can use your fire die for the Petite Curie to gain some movement or defense. Because she was known for being, was it the polio vaccination? I don't remember if that was hers. Sachi Toyota, and I may have pronounced that wrong. And he's got another, car train. Interesting. Steam turbine. We have Albert Einstein, who just gains 1 of each. And then another steam turbine. So it's kind of interesting that some of them have the same card. So they both have steam turbines, but they're going to have different backs. So I don't mind that they actually have repeating effects. It's not a big deal. And then we're going to have our quick cards. Draft, vent, raise, damage, upkeep. Gain die, discard die, take damage. Reinforce invention. Gain a cog. Motion, smooth motion, inflict terrain. And then down here it's upkeep. Here you can reset your light bulb if you used it. I think during the race is when you can activate your machine parts. Alright, so we have a bunch of those. Alright, so that was our first pack of cards. We have a bunch more to go through, so we'll check that out in the next part of the video.